Welcome to the Resilient Man podcast. Today I'm joined by Josh, a man who went from battling suicidal thoughts and toxic habits to running marathons and taking ultra endurance challenges and building a life driven by growth, discipline, and purpose. Josh opens up about his lowest moments, the mindset shifts that saved him, and the power of setting goals that stretch your limits. Whether you're currently struggling or on your own journey of self-improvement, this one's packed with wisdom, humility, and practical steps for building mental resilience. Welcome, Josh, to the Resilient Man podcast.
Hello, James. Thanks for having me. I'm honoured to be here.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for joining me. So, the Resilient Man podcast is all about those moments of adversity, those moments of struggles that we've had to overcome to be the person we are today. So if you could just give 2 to 3 of those moments in your own life, what would those moments be? And then we'll dive in a little bit more.
Sure. So, one main thing for me had come from like a sort of real struggle of like mental health and like feeling empty inside, I suppose, just like really unhappy. And then that led to like sort of like a bottom moment. Ultimately feeling like I just cannot continue sort of on this path anymore. And then obviously something had to change. So that was like what really became apparent to me that like, the course and direction of life needed to change. Ultimately, like the only way that was going to happen was me changing myself, my habits and behavior, because yeah, it comes down to just lifestyle at the end of the day. And then obviously, things don't just change overnight. It's a work in progress. Like you're trying to build these better habits and get rid of the bad ones, but you still sort of slip up along the way, and you also learn and reflect from that. And then a real big one was more like a positive change. And then, from building myself up, changing these habits, I sort of realized that I was more capable of like the things that I put my mind to. Then it became like challenging myself. So I ran a marathon within 5 weeks of training, hardly doing any running before. Then just off the back end of that, I basically got into like a photo shoot condition. So I was probably like 7-8% body fat. Like obviously diet was just nailed, and I did that not necessarily for the aesthetic. It was more about that mental challenge again, like proving to myself that I can do this. And obviously just that was really powerful, just focusing on the process, winning the day. And like the outcome and the result was just obviously just part of that process. And then the third one is probably failing sort of like ultra marathons and distances. So um, obviously things don't always go the way that you want, but I'm always trying to look for a lesson in that. And that was sort of like last year for me. I am still wanting to run 100-mile ultra marathon, and that's still like a massive goal for me. Ever since, like I say, I got on sort of this like self-development journey, like that's been like the the crown, I suppose, like something that I really want to achieve. And then just like learning from that sort of setback, and like things don't always go the way that you want, has been a big one as well.
Perfect. Okay. So, in chronological order, did the rock bottom come first?
Yeah. Rock bottom come first.
So, what year is this?
I would probably say like 2019 to 2020 sort of time. So um, I remember I was like like doing a bit of backpacking and stuff, and then I was just like started thinking to myself like I really want to sort myself out. And then obviously coming back and then trying to get into like a career and job that you want, but I was still sort of going out every weekend, and like it again, it's just like a slip into sort of like a not really being myself anymore, like constant like trying to looking for like external substances and stuff to like try and fill that sort of hole, which obviously then with time just makes you feel even more empty inside. And then obviously like lockdown come into play, and I think that was a struggle for a lot of people, I suppose. Because then I was always into the gym, so then I couldn't even do that. So now I was probably drinking a bit more and stuff. But yeah. ultimately I was like probably having like suicidal thoughts, like and just not thinking like I say, I want to carry on anymore. But I've seen and like heard this before that like suicidal people, like it's not like they actually want their life to end. It's just that they want their life as it is or as they know it to end. So, like you say, you don't want to stop living. You want to stop living the way that you are. I'm fortunate enough to obviously have good family and friends around. I would never obviously want to do that too, but then I was like, right, I can't carry on living like this. Like, I got to do something about it. And that really was like what made me change and like to move forward. And you've also got to take like, look at yourself and like take the responsibility for it as well, because all that suffering and pain that I was in was ultimately down to like the lifestyle that I was living at the end of the day. And unless you do take the responsibility for it, then you've not got any power to change it. Like, you can be down, you can be in the dumps, but you can't be a victim, because if you are, then you're just giving all that power and to change anything away from yourself.
Was there a moment where you was like, right, I need to change?
Yeah, there was. I remember just laying in bed sort of like one night and I was just thinking like I say, like I can't carry on like this. And then I basically thought to myself like, all right, obviously gonna ask for some help. Like I'm gonna speak to someone. Like I don't know what to do, but I need to do something. And I just sort of had that imaginary conversation in my head, like thinking about what I'm gonna say to someone. And then I just thought like, it's all my like it's literally me. Like if someone else had told me that, I would be like, well look at what you're doing. Like there's no wonder that you feel that way and like you're so like down and empty. Like it shouldn't be a surprise. But yeah.
So, how did you go about getting the help that you needed?
Uh, to be fair, like a lot of it come from like reading books and stuff. Like I was like I say, with that sort of awakening or something, or whatever you want to call it, it's like realizing that it was all my own doing. Again, that was hard, but it also gave me the power to do something about it. So then I was just like very focused on changing my own habits and my lifestyle. And like with that being like sort of in lockdown sort of time, like reading the right types of books, like became very powerful. Like one that really stood out was Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. That was like a massive one. And then it was just like trying to change my environment, so not going to the pub sort of every weekend. And again, it's not like this just happened overnight. It was like I'd still go to the pub sometimes, like not want to drink, not want to drink, and then I'd end up drinking. And I was like, right, I just can't go to the pub because I can have the best intention, but as soon as I'm in that environment, then I'm just going to end up drinking because environment drives behavior so much more than your willpower. If you're still going to the same place where you do this behavior all the time, you're just going to do that behavior because you've not had the experience not of doing it yet.
So, one the next question was going to be, what advice would you give to someone who's in that state, who's got that environment, who's going out drinking, and yeah, in that similar headspace to where you were?
You just like you need to understand like again like the power of environment. Like you can have the best intention, but as soon as you go somewhere where you associate that behavior when you've literally done it like probably for years as well, like it's not like just an odd thing. Like it's going to be so deeply ingrained within like basically what you do and who you are that you're not going to be able to go there. So you just take yourself away from it for a good amount of time, and then you will have experience like obviously the mental clarity that comes with not drinking. But I think the hardest thing is like no one wants to just stop going out and doing nothing, which is obviously where like for me the running really came in, because I wasn't just not going out to not go out and not drink. I wanted to get up early, go for a run fresh, like I wanted to feel good the next day. But I really think that obviously, like, if you're a big drinker, then that can become like such a big part of your identity. And giving that up will feel like giving up a part of yourself, but it's so like self-destructive at the end of the day. And I get it, obviously it is hard, and you need to find something else that's going to like replace that gap in your life, because again, you're not just going to stop going out to do nothing and sit at home like twiddling your thumbs. you need like a healthier outlet for yourself.
Did your social network change because you've gone from going out to now not going out?
Yeah, so like a lot of my friends like I just didn't see for a long time. But obviously, would speak through like social media and stuff, and like I've been out more recently and like seeing them and stuff. But I just explained to them like I just had to take myself out of that situation. Like it, sorry, nothing against them. It's just something that I was struggling with and had to deal with at the time. Like I was so unhappy and unfulfilled. Like it was just ruining me, and I just can't do this anymore. Like I need something else that makes me, feel good inside, not like empty.
And were they quite receptive to what you was telling them, and when you unpacked it all a little bit
Yeah,
for them?
yeah, absolutely. Like I think like at the time, obviously it wasn't that easy to explain that across. So I'm more just stopped going out, and then now obviously with time passing, I could explain, why I sort of did that. But I think because obviously it's so much harder to actually talk about stuff that dealing with as you're actually dealing with it. Like it's only easier for me now to talk about that because it almost feels so far away that like it's almost like I've dealt with it now, and I can actually like say I can talk about it. But like in that moment, it was more about just pulling myself away and like just doing my own thing for a bit, and obviously just focusing on yourself. Like I think, and again, at that moment in time, like you can't worry about what other people think or what they're doing too much. Like you've just got to take care of yourself at the end of the day. And if they love you and they're like they really are your friends, then they'll understand. And then if they get any other kind of feeling towards you, then at the end of the day, they're not your friends because obviously they don't want what's best for you. They just want someone to go out drinking with and have someone there.
So I'm going to try and summarize what you've said there. So is it about having that awareness of what you need and prioritizing your own self-care above what everyone else wants?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm a firm believer that you've got to put yourself first because if you don't, one, like who else is? Like no one's gonna put you before them. Well, they shouldn't. But if you're not able to like put yourself first and like do cover your own needs, then you can't be there to like help anyone else because like you can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. Like that's so true, as cliche as it is. Like you've got to fill yourself up, like have love for yourself and care, and then obviously you can then be better for everyone else. But yeah, you need to like be selfish to be selfless at the end of the day.
So what were the crucial things that you'd say that really helped you through that time? So I know you touched about on running, was there and reading, was there anything else that really helped you?
Yeah, solitude, like getting clarity, like um, something that was actually really powerful was like social media. I just almost, I basically obviously swapped from like my old account to like my new one, but like being really selective on like what you follow and stuff like that because comparison is obviously like such a big thing, and it's very easy to hop online and like feel like you'd rather have someone else's life or something or whatever. Like it's so easy to compare and put yourself down. Like that's again like that was something that I was doing in the past, and it's just like so yeah. But just a lot of like time to obviously look at what you're consuming again, like books, content, news wise, like thinking about I'd call it like your media diet. Like you are what you consume, and it's not just food. It's like the people you surround yourself with, the things that you listen to, the things that you watch. Like that's all going to have an impact on like your thought and your perspective and the way that you sort of see the world. So again, it's just like controlling what you're actually putting in, so that it's gonna like sort of alter your thinking. But I think one of the biggest ones is reading. Like it's just like it can change like your thinking, and then as soon as you change your thinking, you can change the way that you look at things and see things. So, but yeah, again, just a lifestyle change is a big one though. Like,
It is, and one thing you touched upon there is your identity. We almost brand ourselves. So I spent a lot of my life branding myself as an introvert, and so I'd act in line with being an introvert.
yeah,
And it's almost like you're restricting yourself by putting these expectations of yourself by identifying as a certain way or a certain person. So then when you come to break free from that, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel normal, and then that's one of the challenges.
Absolutely.
The thing that you mentioned there was about reading. Was you always like a keen reader?
No, so that mainly come from sort of lockdown. So again, obviously, like there's always like a bit of a transition period, and I was like, right, if I've got all this time, like I can't do anything else. Like I want to at least try and build like one good habit, and I sort of started with like trying to do like 10 pages a day. But yeah, like I say, one of the best ones was Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Like I'd always recommend that, and then become a massive fan of like Ryan Holiday's books. You probably know him, but yeah, I think those all together. But there's a saying, obviously, reading a book won't change your life, but the habit of reading will. So again, it's about consistency. Like reading something's not going to have the biggest impact because obviously you sort of forget as well. But that constant reminder of sort of new ways of thinking, like trying to be inspired, thinking about the standard that you want to hold yourself to, and like essentially like the type of man that you want to become. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point as well in terms of looking at what the man is that you want to become and having that forward projection of who it is you want to be. And then taking a step back and looking what you're doing now, and is that going to get you there? And then working on how you can then improve or increase or change your habits, to then get you there.
yeah. So obviously, like when I was really struggling, it's just like you're just living weekend to weekend. Like your life's got no direction. You've got no goals. Like you're not working towards anything. All you're thinking about is like, what am I doing this weekend? Where are we going? And that's it. Like you've got no direction. That's something that obviously like Jordan Peterson talks about a lot, is like having something to aim for, because if you're not, then you're just aimless, and like you don't know, like you feel lost, like you got no direction, like you need something again. And I think like the biggest thing that you can start with is obviously yourself. Like get healthy, like look after yourself, and then like the more confidence you build through that like daily action, then you're like, oh, I can actually sort of like do these things. Like all wins like feel the same, and obviously like when you've actually got those goals and like those milestones, and that's gonna give you like the dopamine reward that like obviously that people just look for that quick fix, like again like whether it's through alcohol, drugs, like food, like it's the same reward system. One just takes a little bit of work, but it leads to obviously like much better life at the end of the day, rather than just like destroying your health both physically and mentally for like a 2 minute hit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I completely agree. And that was the headspace that you was in then. So in terms of having aims, do you remember what your aim was?
So I think like obviously in the beginning it was just more about like sorting my life out. Like it wasn't necessarily like some massive aspirations. It was just more like, right, let's just try and sort this out. And then obviously like through the to be completely honest, like, where I was just like struggling to get out of bed some days, or like uh, obviously just had like no diet or whatever. That starts with like a win. Like I'm gonna get up and like keep my room tidy, and I'm just like as simple as that sounds. Like if that's where you're at, then that's where you're at, and that's where you got to start. Like, but again, like you can build confidence just from like building that kind of discipline. Um, but you have to be very humble to admit that like you're struggling that much, and like you can't even like do that, because like everyone wants like the big win, like whether that's being running a marathon, or everyone wants the big shiny thing, but it starts with the little wins to get there in the first place. So yeah.
I think that's really crucial as well. And it's something that so outside of the podcasting world, I'm doing a little bit of coaching. And one of the things we focus on is those small incremental steps, but being consistent over time and building yourself up. I think it was Kobe Bryant who was in an interview, and he was talking about, if you like say to me now, you're going to go and climb Mount Everest, you'll get to the bottom of Mount Everest, you'll look up and go, I ain't climbing Mount Everest. But all you need to do is just look down and focus on that first step and that next step and that next step. And then gradually over time, you will get there. So I want to just move on slightly to the challenge of running a marathon. So you've been through the rock bottom, you've started to build yourself up, and then how did this come about, this challenge of setting yourself to run a marathon?
Because from doing that, I've become very much in the mindset of like doing hard things because like you start to see like your mental resilience is obviously like a muscle, like at the end of the day, and then you're just trying to like build that mental muscle by like seeking out challenges and like getting out uncomfortable. Um, Again, you only build that muscle by like proving yourself right. You know, it's all right saying, yeah, I can do that, I can do that. But if you actually back it up with the action, then there's like a lot of confidence to be gained from that. And as you just said about like climbing the mountain, like you climb one mountain, you achieve one goal, and then like from that peak, you see the next one that you want to climb. And that's very much like what it's about. It's like, and again, it's not about the goals or the achievements. It's about who you can become in the process. Like what can you actually get out of yourself and like realize some of your own potential. Because again, if it was to go back like a few years, like I would have never expected to like one even run a marathon. But now I'm obviously on Sunday. Sorry, I'm doing Manchester Marathon again, and I'm going to be going for a time of like 3 hours and 20 minutes. Whereas obviously is like realistically, really like for how I kind of expected it to be. And one of the reasons that I actually chose running was because it wasn't natural at it. Like it was hard. It was like I didn't want to do it half the time. So again, but by doing that, I got a lot out of it mentally. And now I'm obviously actually like all right because I've been doing it for a few years and like. But in the beginning, it wasn't about that. It was just about like pushing myself to do something hard and like get that achievement. And after I finished that first one, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again because my legs ached so much I could hardly walk. But then, like, you almost want that self satisfaction. Again, it goes back to that dopamine reward, like that sense of achievement. Like it lasts like weeks, or like, I mean, I'm still proud of it now. Like to talk about it because that was really hard to do at the time.
So that marathon then was, I guess, a challenge to test your own resilience,
Yeah.
and it was just about finishing and crossing that line.
Yeah. It wasn't about like a time or anything. It was just about sort of doing it like again, just proving to myself that I could do like this hard thing. And again, I booked it within like 5 weeks of the actual thing. Like again, it was literally just to like try and prove to myself that I can do it. I ran that on a Sunday, and then literally on the Monday afterwards, I had like an online coach, JJ, you'll know him. And like did like an eight week photo shoot prep, and like again that was very rewarding for like that process of just winning the day, like regardless of how you feel, just like just go tick those boxes. Which again was like a very powerful thing because like you just achieve this goal and result when all you focused on was like that next step. Like again, that's all you focus on is that day, that action. Like tick all your boxes, don't worry about anything else, and like you will achieve that goal and result.
What's interesting there is you mentioned, I started to mention about that body transformation, that cut that you went on. And for me, it was a similar sort of thing. I've always wanted to, well, the biggest thing was I wanted to look in the mirror and smile. And I'd always wanted to get into shape. And the reason why I signed up to do that was to see if I could do it, to test myself. So if I fully commit to this, what would be the result?
Yeah.
And then, like you say, you go for the photo shoot and you look good, and then that only just boosts your confidence, and you can see that you've achieved something. And then, yeah, it's like, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I don't like obviously as well like the looking good like it does build your confidence, but I think it's more about that the self-respect that you gain. Like because again like you don't always feel like doing the things that you want to do, but you build so much like mental strength and resilience that like you have so much respect for yourself because, like, again, regardless of how you felt, like you did everything that was necessary to achieve that goal. And that's what you see when you look in the mirror as well. Like you don't just see the way that you look at all that hard work that you put in, like you see all those wins and like again, like when you go out for a walk and it's pissing it down in the evening, but you gotta get your steps in, like it's a weird thing to go through and like again obviously it's not for everyone, but it's like it does you do learn a lot about yourself and obviously what you can do when you put your mind to it. So yeah.
It's easy to do the things on a day when you feel good, isn't it? And it's when you know you've got to do something, you've got to dig down deep. Like what you said, I had a few nights that I think it was like 9 o'clock. I've still not done all my steps and stuff. I still have to go back out. And it's the last thing you want to do. Or even just go to the gym some days. But yeah, and one thing that you mentioned there is about that self-respect and that pride. You know, you can look at yourself and be proud of who you were. And especially looking back at where you were a few years ago in 2019 to where you are now. That's just a huge motivation boost for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
So moving on then, so you've gone through the rock bottom, you challenged yourself to do the marathon, then straight after that you did a body cut, getting awesome shape. Then where do you go from there?
So after that, like, just sort of decided that I wanted to go more performance-based goal because, like, to be brutally honest, like, even though like I got in the best shape and stuff, like it had a lot of like negative like aspects to it as well. Like when you become that fixated on the way that you look, like it, you like I didn't want that because like you're just constantly being very self-critical as well at the same time because like and also like it wasn't until like afterwards like that you sort of look back and then you realize how good that you look for me anyway. So I was just like I don't really want to go to that extreme again. Like I enjoy looking good, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to solely focus on that. Like so and I was enjoying like what I was getting out of the running, and it seemed like again like from again pretty cliche, but like reading David Goggins' book, like as soon as I read about like 100 miles, I was just like that just really spoke to me. Like I want to do that, so I was just more focused on like trying to bridge that gap. So that next year would have been 2023. I did like a multi-stage ultra marathon in the Peak District, so it was like 110 kilometers over 2 days. I come like sixth place overall in that, so I think so. That went really well, and I was like obviously dead happy with that. And again, that was just sort of to like get into that ultra distance and sort of bridge that gap to obviously trying to run 100 miles, which should have been last year, so 2024, but that didn't quite work out. So we'll go again this year.
So how did you find that first ultramarathon? Had you done any sort of distances as high as that up until that point?
No, but I did like obviously quite a lot of training for it. So it was in I can't remember it was like July, August time maybe. So I had like quite a lot of training time for it. And again, obviously put the work in. So and again, that's why I really do enjoy like these big ultra distances, or like even like training for a marathon properly. To be fair, it's like if you're wanting to do it right, you got to put a lot of runs in, a lot of the weekly mileage and stuff, and like you don't. For me, I don't always like feeling like going out for a run, but that's again where I can get another one of those mental wins. It'd be very rare that I don't feel like going to the gym. Like I just live lifting weights. Like I could do that like every single day, and like it wouldn't even bother me. But like running, I enjoy it always afterwards. But like there's a lot of the times that I don't want to go out the door, and that's another reason why I do it still because like it allows me to get that win and like do something that I don't want to do. So yes, so obviously what with the progression as well, like you build yourself up over time. So you might start off with like I'll just use the long run for example, like as like 18 miles long run one Sunday, and then you're getting up to like 22, and then like you over the weeks and months like you're building yourself up to like you're going out, you're running like a marathon on the Saturday, and then you're going out the next day after and you're running for 3 hours, and like that's just a standard weekend. There's a lot of growth to be made in that.
That's insane. Just those distances. So I've got a half marathon coming up in a couple of months. So I did a 10k a few. Like, how do you stay motivated through like a long distance run?
Um, Through like a long distance run, like you're gonna have highs and lows. Uh, Again, I think that's like such a good thing about running is like there is gonna be like highs and lows through it. You've just got to like I always think like just be patient, like and just like get through it sort of thing. Um, it does depend on like the sort of run. If like I was like pushing for like a time or a distance, like I'm just focusing on like maintain pace. So like obviously that might be higher intensity and just focused on the moment. If like it's like an ultra or like an endurance run, like you might be like going up a climb. Like you just I think a lot of the time it's just like about focusing on the moment, like what's this like next little thing, and not just looking at like, oh fucking hell, I got 20 miles to go or something like that, because that's soon just going to drain your energy and bog you down. Again, obviously with like the real long distance ultras, like they have like the aid stations, they might be like 10 miles apart or something. Like if you're going like 50 to 100 miles, so like it's just about get to that next one. And I think that's what I think that's like anything really. It's just like breaking it all down so that it's like bite size, like it's manageable, and like you just focus on like that next step again. Like just talking about that mountain, it's just like you just focus on that next step, like that next mile or whatever it is that seems like manageable to you. Just focus on that, and then that can come as a win in itself, and you'll get motivated from that. Action comes first, and like the motivation comes from that win at the end of the day. It's like that dopamine is what's going to spur you on, which is why you also have to be quite careful with your goals, because if you set them too big and you constantly set yourself up for failure, then you're going to feel like a loser. So make sure you set that parameter right. Obviously, and again, it needs to be challenging enough to actually feel like you've achieved something. But if you're constantly trying to like, again, this is just talk about life, but like if you're constantly trying to set yourself up and like set challenges and goals that you just can't accomplish, then you're just going to lose all your motivation.
Do you have any advice on how people can set goals or what to set a goal on?
So it's just the easiest place to start is start doing the things that you know that you can do, but you aren't already. Like that could be so simple for so many people. But again, like they don't want to do that. That's where like the being humble like comes into it, because like you just got to start at the level that you're at. But again, like getting up at when you said you was going to, like, might seem a little bit embarrassing for some people. But like if that's the win that you need, then that's the win that you need, because that'll soon like that just getting up at time on time can soon turn into getting a 20-minute walk in before work, which can become a half an hour run. Like, but it's just like building on that momentum. But yeah, just start doing the things that you know that you can do that you can't already. And another simple one is like just keep your word. Like if you say you're gonna do something, do it. Like don't like make excuses and like back out. Like follow through with what you say you're gonna do. Um, because your word is so important, like even to yourself. Like if you let yourself down, you can't trust yourself, like your word means nothing. Like you can say I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but deep down you know you're not going to, so it doesn't even matter. So again, it's like building that relationship with yourself, building that trust so that you know like you've got your own back at the end of the day. Like you know when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it, and that brings confidence that you're going to follow through. So when you then set these bigger goals and these challenges, like you know you're going to do the work. It's all about like getting those wins and building momentum. But you've got to keep on getting those wins, because doubt can soon start creeping back up into your mind. If you start letting yourself down, you're going to start again doubting yourself. So it's a constant, again, like I'm a constant work in process. Like I still go through that. Like if I'm like not holding myself accountable or being disciplined, then I sort of lose a little bit of self confidence or self respect, and like probably doesn't really show that much. But like to me, like how I feel about myself, like, and I think this is very important for confidence. Is like your own opinion of yourself should matter the most, because when you have a massive amount of self respect, like you know who you are, you know what you stand for, doesn't really matter too much what other people think, because they only get like a snapshot or like certain aspect of you. But like who you are behind closed doors, and like again like the standards that you hold for yourself is like what's going to be most important. And then when you can act that kind of way, like again like not that you don't care, but like you can act like you don't care. People respect you more for that because you can be more authentic. Like you can literally be yourself, and like people see that.
That was really powerful. I love that. So it starts off with being accountable to yourself, and like we said, in what I've noticed as well is momentum. You said like getting up when you said you're going to get up, and then making your bed straight away, and then using that momentum and carrying it through the day. So I really like that concept of holding yourself accountable to your word, and also then just on the excuses as well. I think we can always find an excuse for no matter what the scenario is. But I think it's really then about challenging yourself to then flip the script almost and then find reasons
Yeah.
why you should. So that kind of leads me to my next question, which is if you had to boil down your why, what would that be? Why are you constantly pushing yourself and running?
I've always like so like before I sort of like went into like a bad place, like I was very interested in like challenges. So like I did like a few of those Spartan races. So I think that's what it's all like sort of come full circle to, that I'm very like inspired by sort of like human potential, like not just my own. Like I think a lot of people are inspired by that. Like when you see someone that's like an elite performer, you think like that's amazing. So yeah, so like just challenging myself, like trying to get the most out of myself, and like because I believe that like the better that we can become, like the higher version of ourselves, or like the higher standard that we can hold ourselves to, the better quality life that we're gonna live. But then again, it comes back to like how we show up like in the world for other people. So like if we're getting more out of ourselves, then we can like you know be more for everyone else. So it's like you're doing it for yourself in a way, but it impacts like everyone else in a much more positive way. So like again, like the better that you can be, like the better that you can show up for your friends and your family. But yeah, challenging yourself and like reaching like your highest potential, having the confidence to go after the things that you truly want, not just living life reactively, like going out, doing like whatever's there in the moment, or maybe what's like normal. When you was asking about like um what's like the important things, like I think like taking a bit of a step back from like your friendship group and like spending time on your own and actually having that think about like what do I actually want to get out of my life, like who do I want to become, what direction do I actually want it to go in, rather than just like going with the norm and the crowd. Like think about where you want your life to go. And like again, like challenge has always been like something that I would want to do, because I think like when I look back, like that's what I'll be proud of. Like, and again, it's not always about what you achieve; it's about who you become in the process. So, like challenge is always going to come to growth, whether that's in the form of a lesson or just well, it's always going to be some kind of lesson. But whether that's failure or success.
No, I love that. And one thing you touched on there, which we haven't touched on much, is the impact it has on those people around you.
Yeah,
And that was something I was completely oblivious to when I was like struggling. I was too consumed with myself. I didn't realize about the impact and strains it was putting on relationships and friendships. Um, so I think that's really interesting that you mentioned that, and the fact that you can better yourselves for them and improve those relationships as well. So how do you deal with failure now? So I know you mentioned that one of the races didn't necessarily go to plan. You didn't get to finish it. Do you want to just talk to us a little bit about that?
yeah. So last year I'd actually like set up like three ultra marathons where I was like hoping to do like a 100 miles in each one. But obviously like first one just injured my foot. Like I come to realize I just wasn't prepared really like for it as mentally as I thought. Like never mind physically. Like it's just such a big challenge that you like. Obviously, it sounds hard, like it's 100 miles, obviously, but like I think like for me, like it was just a lot harder. Obviously, again, like that was the lesson that I need to learn, and that's like how I deal with failure. Is like, what's the lesson here? And like even to be honest with you, like in every single one, I learned like something different. So like, but the last one especially, like, uh, did like not upset me, but I was just like, I was very disappointed, like because I really then had to accept that like I wasn't going to get it that year. But then I was obviously like just more focused on building the strength and stuff. But yeah, like I say though, like it's not always about the success of the event in itself. Like all the training that goes into that, like you still build yourself up a lot. Like I did so much more that year, just by sort of stepping up and like be like committing to that goal. Than if I'd have just like took it easy and sort of like didn't do anything. Obviously, everyone wants to like get that achievement, and you know, from what I've learned now, I definitely believe I will. That's just remind me. So, like, people say, obviously, it's like, oh, I think that it's only a failure if you sort of quit. Like, if you have a goal, and you don't succeed at the first time, then that's just an attempt. But and like more than likely, you're going to learn something then, and then you're going to go again. And whether that you get it the second time or the third time, like as long as you keep going, I don't see that as failure. Like you just hopefully you're learning something. Like if you keep making the same mistake, then obviously that's a little bit different. But if you keep going and you keep trying, you keep learning, you adapting, like there is nothing really stopping you. But if you like decide, right, that's it, like I'm done, like I'm not going to do this anymore, then that's sort of like quitting. Or I think James Smith like calls it like being defeated. Like that's where you truly fail because you like you've lost that will to sort of go on. But again, also like it's not like if you realize like a goal's not really meant for you, then obviously that's again like it's all right to change direction and like go after something else. But like if something really matters and you really want it, just keep going. I'm sure you'll achieve it eventually. Just trust the process.
Love that perspective of turning failure into a learning exercises. What did I learn? And then keep going. And as you say, only failure once you stop.
Yeah.
You give up. So one question I want to unpack a little bit more, and you might have touched on this a little bit. So day to day, how do you maintain your own mental well-being?
Um. So mainly, I would say, is like obviously exercise and diet. So what we looked at with regards to like content as well, like not just what you eat, is all going to have like an impact on like just how you feel day to day with regards to like your mood and energy. So I think that's like the most simple thing. Then I would say like again also like books that I read. That's always so powerful for like my thinking, which obviously can impact my perspective and stuff. So, and then I would say more like, you know, spending time outside in nature, like getting proper sunlight, like getting a sweat on, um, also meditating, and then like just being like journaling, like being reflective, um, and yeah, just trying to be understanding. But I think, have you ever read The Power of Now?
If not, no.
No, so that's like it's quite a spiritual book, but it's like Eckhart Tolle, and he's like always on about like again like trying to focus in the present moment with like how we just like spoke about like the running and stuff. Like at the end of the day, like problems really don't exist in this moment here and now because if it did, then like you'd have to be dealing with it. So like he basically says that like thinking is almost like a disease of the brain because like what it does is like it wants to create problems, whether that's in the future, like creating anxiety for yourself, or you know dwelling on the past, which obviously you know we can't do anything about either of those. So I think when it comes like to your mental health and your well-being, the number one thing that you need to do is like take control of your mind by being able to direct your focus into the present moment. So like whatever it is that you're doing, like just try and focus on that. But that takes practice. Like it's not like that just happens. And that comes from meditation really is probably like the most powerful thing because if you sit there and try and focus on your breathing, you can soon become aware about, you know, how crazy your mind can be, like trying to wander and go into all these different directions and like you have to almost well, you have to recognize that you aren't your thoughts and like you almost have to like realize that you're the observer and those thoughts are just there, they pop up and they go and like you don't have to act on them or you don't have to relate to them and like they're not you at the end of the day, they just pop up and go and yeah. So I think obviously that's the main thing for mental side of things.
I mean, that's That's awesome. There's loads of different things on there that people listening can actually take away and try. And it just to reinforce, it's not like you have to go out and do everything all at once.
No, no.
Just find something that works for you, and then just start doing that and seeing how that works for you. What does the future hold for you, Josh? Where do you see yourself in a few years? What do you want to do? What do you want to
Yeah.
achieve?
So I've been thinking, obviously, like with the coaching and stuff, like, and you asked like what my why is. So it's very much about keep challenging myself to like inspire others to challenge themselves, but and then obviously like everyone that sort of comes on board with my coaching and stuff is like I'm always trying to build them up, and then I say to them like eventually like push to a goal that they probably never once thought possible, but obviously like as we've discussed, the confidence that you gain from like, just getting into shape and like building yourself up, like it opens up so many doors. And I think like having that confidence to like, go after a challenge is so important. And again, like we just spoke about, like building that relationship with failure is like, it's being okay with that. Like I think so many people don't do something because they're scared to fail. Like they don't want that embarrassment or whatever it is. Like, go embrace it. Like like you're just like sitting in your comfort zone. Like you're not going after the things that you want because you're scared of like failing. Like there is no failure. Like the biggest failure is getting to the end of your life and you didn't go after the things that you wanted.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. So we end the podcast with the same question. So you might have heard it, you might not. What does mental resilience mean to you?
Mental resilience. So I think everyone thinks like mental resilience is like grit, determination, and go, 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 which it very much is. Like, you need that. Like, you need to know when to push. Like, you need to know when, like, you're being like a bit of a bitch at the end of the day and you need to get yourself going. But also at the same time, like, you need to be a friend to yourself. Like, you need to be kind to yourself. Like, you need to, because if you've got someone in your ear shouting that you're in like, come on, let's go all the time, like that voice soon gets tiring. So it's very important to like be a coach to yourself, not just like a sort of tyrant as well. So like it takes both, but I think something that I wanted to touch on is like try and love yourself to get yourself to do the things that you actually want to do. It's so much more powerful than like coming from a place of like hate or a place that if you're not enough. Like uh, some people, like obviously the pain is going to get you so far, but being resilient, like it takes understanding, it takes like self care and love. Like I think like discipline as well is the highest form of self care. Like you're gonna reap the most rewards when you can be disciplined, but if you're trying to force your way into that and like feel like you have to do that and like you soon get like despondent with it. But yeah, resilience is just overcoming challenges, embrace it, and just learning from the process.
Fantastic. As we wrap up, is there any other closing comments, closing thoughts that you want to give the audience?
No, the only thing that I wanted to talk about was obviously like make sure it comes from a place of love. So yeah, that's why I wanted to get in because yeah, you are the person that you're going to spend the most amount of time with. So make sure that relationship's a good one.
Awesome, fantastic. Josh, thanks very much for coming on the podcast. I think we will wrap it up there. Thank you very much, mate.
No problem, James. It's been a pleasure. Cheers.